Welcome to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and today we are making the most mouth-watering double-stuffed Oreo cake.
It's the all-free whole food plant-based cooking show.
Today's show is brought to you in part by Scindian Natural Food Products. Scindian is a family-owned and operated Australian company celebrating 20 years in business, making a wide range of affordable plant-based gluten-free products like burgers, sliders, sausages, and more. No preservatives, stabilizers, emulsifiers, or additives. Just clean, minimally processed, whole food ingredients that never compromise on flavor. In the US, you can find Scindian products in many independent health food and specialty grocery stores, and in the freezer aisle at select Meijer stores, or by ordering online at meijer.com. In Australia, you'll find them online at scindian.com.au and at your local supermarket. Scindian, guided by nature. Hi everybody! I have a super special cake to make for you today, and this cake is going out to two of our special little viewers. They are the children of Jocelyn Diaz. I just did an interview with her on her podcast, The Eczema Free Journey, and her two little ones watch the show. So, Lucas and Leia, if you're watching the show, hi! I hope you love this cake. You gotta help your mommy make it, okay? So let's just jump in. So this cake is a double stuff Oreo cake, minus the Oreos. It's gonna taste like Oreos, but it's not gonna have any of those unhealthy fats or all of that sugar. We're gonna make this healthy. So we're gonna start with 2 cups of rolled oats, and we're gonna make it into flour. So we're just gonna put it in our blender, and you don't need a big fancy schmancy blender like this. If you have all you have is a NutriBullet or just a regular blender, that will work just fine too. So we're just gonna make this into a flour. Okay, that's good enough. You don't have to do a super fine flour. It can still have just a little bit of grit to it, just fine. So you put that into your bowl. I'm going to set this aside because we're going to need this for the second step. Okay, so into the dry ingredients, we're going to put 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And you really want to make sure you get the baking powder that is aluminum free. And that goes the same for baking powder. You should be able to find that at just your local grocery store. And if you can't, specials or like a health food store will have it, or you can go online on Amazon, you can find it there. So we need 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and the complete list of ingredients will be in the details in the list below, in a link below I should say. Okay, so then we have the oat flour, baking soda, baking powder. Now we have almond flour, so we have 1 cup of almond flour, or you can use almond meal, no different. And then the special ingredient that makes this so much like an Oreo cookie is black cocoa powder. So this is 3/4 cup. And this is the one that I get, the Cocoa Trader, and I just ordered it off of Amazon, and I'll give you a link in the details below for that too. But it tastes just a little bit different than regular cocoa powder. It's not quite as strong of a chocolate flavor, but it tastes more like what an Oreo cookie does. So we're just gonna, I use a whisk for this, just to make sure that we get out any chunks of baking soda or baking powder. You don't end up with any chunks of that dry after it's baked. So you wanna mix that really good, because you want that cake to be super black, just like an Oreo cookie, right? Okay. That's good for that. Now we're going to go into the wet ingredients. So I have 1.5 cups of dates already pitted. Oops. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And 3 cups of plant milk. It doesn't matter what kind of plant milk you use. This happens to be soy milk. But you can use, you could use oat milk or almond milk. any of the plant milks that you have on hand. Set that aside. Now we're just going to blend this up until there are no date chunks left, okay? So that just takes a couple minutes in your blender. Okay, so that's ready. You can see that. There might be a couple little specks in there from the date chunks, but that's okay. Just no big chunks. You're just going to pour that right in there. Set that aside. I'm just going to stir it up. And I have my oven already preheated on 350 degrees. And I've already lined my 2 cake tins with parchment paper. But you can lightly oil them, or if you have a, one of those handy dandy silicone cake pans, that's great too. Okay. Make sure I get it all mixed well. There's no dry spots left in there. Okay, and this takes 2 cake pans because it's going to be a cake and a cake. It's going to look just like an Oreo cookie, but there's also going to be frosting on the top, so it's a little better than an Oreo cookie. Okay, now I'm just going to pour half and half. About, see if I can estimate good there. See how black that is? That just is amazing. You're going to be so surprised when this cake comes out of the oven how much it looks like and smells like Oreos. Okay, there we go. Settle those just a little bit. Okay, now they're going to go into the oven for 30 to 35 minutes, and you'll just have to test them. You'll know them done when you press into the top a little bit and it kind of sponges back, or comes back at you. So we're going to put these into the oven. Okay, so now on to the frosting. So what I have here are 2 cups of cashews that I've soaked for 2 hours. I just put filtered water on them and let them soak, and now I just drained them off. Okay. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla. 1 cup of pitted dates. 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, which is about half of a lemon. Oops, I put it in upside down. That's the secret with these. It seems like you should put it in like this, right? But it actually works better if you flip it upside down. See how much more juice comes out? And it doesn't spray out the sides and into your eyeballs. There we go. And then 1 cup of water. And this part is going to take a little bit of patience because it's really thick and it takes a few times to get it going and then scrape down the sides and pop out that air bubble that's going to be in there to get this really smooth and creamy. So it takes a few minutes, but it's so worth it. Alright, first time, scrape that down. This is where a Vitamix would be really handy, right? With that tamper in there, and you don't have to stop and scrape it down. You just keep on going. Okay, if you want to come in here a little closer, see that? Super smooth and creamy. So this we're just going to let sit here while we're waiting for our cake. And then, because as it sits, it's going to get a little bit thicker, which is what you want. You want it to be a little bit thicker. And then we'll frost it once our cakes are cooled. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to share with you some background on our show. The Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show is crowd-funded, which means these free weekly recipe videos are made possible in part by the generous patronage of our supporting members. We create this show to share all of the delicious plant-based recipes we use in our own family kitchen with the hundreds of thousands of viewers just like you who tune in each month from all over the world. Our supporting memberships offer great perks like access to our ebooks and in-depth courses, including our 28-day Plant-Based Made Easy course, where we offer a step-by-step guide to making the switch to a fully plant-based diet. If you love our content, please join us on our mission to share this life-changing message with the world and become a supporting member today by following the link in the description. Okay, let's get back to the show. Okay guys, cakes are out. They are completely cooled. Now, if you want to do this on a plate, or I have this little cake stand to make it look a little fancier, you're going to take your first cake, put that on the bottom. I mean, look at that. That is the color of Oreo cookies, right? Just crazy. Now our frosting, look at that. The frosting has thickened up. Wonderful. So we're going to put about half of it on the first cake. And this, you know, you don't have to measure. We're just eyeballing here. That looks like about right. Okay. You're just gonna smooth that around a little bit. And I don't usually go all the way out to the edge, because once you put that other cake on there, it's going to smush down just a little bit, and it's going to push the rest of that out to the edge just a little bit. So you go almost to the edge. Okay, just like that. You get your other cake carefully. And I'm going to flip it over. There we go. Center it. Now we're just going to pour the rest of that on top. Get all of that goodness out of there. You are going to be so surprised when you eat this. It is so, like, the cake is just lightly sweet, but then you got the sweetness of this creamy frosting, which is just like the cookie, right? Because the cookie parts don't really have a huge amount of flavor or sweetness. It's that creamy center. So now you can frost this any way you like. If you want it to go over the edge and spill over, that's cool too, but I kind of like to see the inside, so it makes it look a little bit more like the cookie. And this is really best if after you're done frosting this, you stick it in the fridge for a couple hours, let it firm up, and then it's much, much easier to slice. Because right now, frosting's a little bit soft. It's going to be a little bit hard to slice without all that frosting oozing out. There we go. Oops, it's oozing out of this side just a little bit. There you go. Oh my goodness. And you know what time it is now? I've got to get myself a plate, and I'll meet you at the table because we have to taste this guy. Okay, it's time to taste. Oh my gosh. This is probably, I think, my new favorite cake now. I absolutely love Oreo cookies, but as you know, or maybe you don't know, they're just loaded with sugar, and I'm sure probably trans fats and stuff like that. So they're not really good. Just because they're vegan doesn't mean they're good for you, right? But this way, you can have your Oreo and it's actually good for you. Whoa, look at that. That's always the hardest thing, and I didn't chill this, so it's still pretty soft. I think you're gonna have to leave me alone here, because I think instead of this slice, I'm taking this slice. So you better like this video, okay? And I'll see you next time.